Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to read a comic. And today's comic is My Only Love, issue number 6, dated June 1976. Take a look at the cover. Very well drawn cover here. Definitely a commercial artist. As I had mentioned earlier, Charlton would employ a lot of commercial artists on a freelancer basis. And they did so for two reasons. One, their pay rates were kind of low for the comic book industry. So if you were an artist and you can get hired by DC or Marvel, you worked there because their pay rates were much higher. However, when they got these freelance commercial artists on contract, these are guys who are like in between, guys or women, men or women, who are in between jobs. So the thing about commercial artwork was that it paid more, but there were fewer jobs available. So the thing is, to kind of pay the electric bills, they would work for Charleston. They were given a lot of freedom. That was one of the big things. There was very little editorial oversight. So as long as you presented a professional level looking comic, they were fine with that. If you were an artist and you wanted to put, say, just kind of hack effort into it, yeah, as long as it looked professional, they were fine with that. But at the same time, if you were someone who wanted to experiment, you could do so in these comics. And also you get a chance to tell some stories here. Some people, they think they have the best life in the world. They want to tell stories about themselves. And some of them, they do it in these comics, in these stories. That's sort of the reason why I like them, because they're very personalized. And you see, the cover here is very well drawn. So this person, even though they didn't get paid very much for this, nevertheless, they put a lot of effort into it. This way also they can show off their work, their published work, to potential employees. So I'm going to go into the comic book. I'm going to just go into the first story here. It's called Substitute Love. And our protagonists it's Dean, there's Marie, and then there's Anne. And the thing is that Marie and Anne are sisters. They live together. They're roommates. There's the one gentleman there. It's sort of like an okie doke where the couple that we see at the beginning is not the couple that we see at the end. And the couple that we see at the beginning is Dean and Anne. And it turns out Anne is a very beautiful woman, kind of has this Sybil Shepherd type thing going for her. And she won a beauty contest in Wisconsin. The pig who came in second was quite upset. That's one of the jokes that you would hear about Wisconsin. And so she got out of Wisconsin and she moved to the big city, Chicago. So this story is taking place in Chicago. Now, when Anne got the opportunity to leave small town Wisconsin, she jumped at it because Anne was moving to Chicago. I said, listen, why don't you piggyback with me? We both wanted to get out of this goddamn state. And I'm the one who has the easy path to it. You might as well piggyback on that because you're not going to get an easier opportunity. So Marie kind of took advantage of the opportunity that Anne got. But the thing is, there's still some kind of conflicts because it's clear that Anne is the reason why they're out there. Anne is the one who's doing the supporting. Anne has the glamorous job of being a model. She wants to lead a glamorous life. Whereas I think Marie is just a secretary. I shouldn't say just a secretary. She's a secretary. She's a stenographer in a grocery wholesale office. Why they would need a stenographer, I don't know. But nevertheless, she is a skilled she is a skilled individual, but she doesn't have the glamorous job or the glamorous life that Anne is living. So anyway, she's dating Dean. Dean seems like a very decent guy. Um, and Anne is sort of, she's pulling the status card here. She's being formally polite, but she's making it clear that she's the star of the family. So anyway, Dean takes it upon himself to introduce himself to Marie here. Marie's kind of showing a little bit of jealousy here, a little bit of passive aggressiveness. Since she tells Dean, "Since Anne didn't bother Mr. Stockley, I'm Marie, her sister." So the thing is, she's kind of ticked off her sister didn't formally introduce her. What Marie reminds me of is a dear friend of mine who had passed away. A little bit of a cautionary tale with her life, but she reminds me, she was kind of she was short and boxy. She was like barely 5 feet. And she kind of, again, she kind of looked like Marie here with kind of those slumping shoulders. And she always kind of looked older than she really was. I remember I met her, I think she was in her 50s, and I already thought she was maybe like 65. And she was someone who always wanted to get married. It never happened for her, in large part because she was kind of a difficult individual to deal with. She was a cautionary tale because if you took her assets together, she was probably worth about $300,000. She ended up being buried in Potter's Field, and her body was unclaimed for 2 months at the morgue. Oh, and here's the kicker: her body. She had had a heart attack in her apartment. She was in her apartment an entire year. The corpse was in the apartment almost an entire year before I finally called health service. I share some responsibility in that, but still, that's the cautionary tale. You put yourself out there and you just totally strike out, and it's crazy. So anyway, this Marie kind of reminds me of Paula. This is the end. This story is what Paula wished her life was, and not what it really was. So anyway, Dean is taking some interest in Marie here, slumping, mousy Marie here. Anne is getting a little upset. She says, "Listen, hey, I'm getting more beautiful by the moment, and you're not appreciating it." Turn the page. So once again, we have the thing where the trope where if a woman, no matter what her face looks like, if she's wearing glasses and she has brown hair, she's deemed unattractive or not good enough looking to generate any interest. Marie is also complaining about her relationship with Anne, in that it's not equally distributed. Because Anne is the star, she's sort of acting like a diva at home. And the thing is that Marie's sort of feeling underappreciated by the fact that she's slowly becoming Anne's employee and not her sister. Anne is talking out loud because, as I mentioned, the heroes talk out loud. The villains talk to themselves, and she's thinking out loud. And Anne has had it. Marie has had it with Anne, I should say. So Marie has had it with Anne. She said, "I'm going to tell her off in the morning. I'm going to wait, before I let everything, off my chest." She fell asleep, but the thing is that when she woke up, she wasn't angry anymore, so she couldn't sustain that emotion. So she's not going to tell her sister off. We see Anne is talking about Dean because they had gone out on a date. She wasn't really impressed with Dean that much, saying that Dean didn't spend enough money on her. So Anne is kind of judging the date based on how much money Dean spent on her. And then we see Marie, she's kind of asking out loud, "Aren't you going to date him anymore, Anne?" And Anne says, "Oh, I might if I don't have anything else to do." So she's putting Anne is putting Dean in the back pocket. Usually it's guys who do this to women, but in this case, it's Anne who's putting Dean in the back pocket. Then turn the page. So about a week about a week passes, and Anne and Dean, they haven't gone on a date yet. And then, suddenly she decides to call him on a Saturday night. So, again, Anne is not really taking Dean seriously. And at this point, she just wants some simp to take her out on a night on the town. So she's really truly not interested in Dean. She's just viewing Dean as someone who can keep her occupied. We can see Anne's reaction. She doesn't like what she's hearing. She's not saying anything. Then the phone rings. Anne is asking, "Oh, Walter, hey, it's been a couple weeks since I talked to you. How you doing?" "Oh yeah, we'll have dinner tonight." "Yeah, sure, no problem." I do have a date, but I'll break it. So we see Marie is listening to this. Marie's angry. She says to Anne, "You can't stand up Dean, Anne. He expects." And then Anne says, "Listen, little sister. Dean's all right, but he has no clout. Walter Reed can help my career plenty." So at this point, she sees Dean as a low value guy. But the thing is that she just leaves. She doesn't give Dean any calls saying, "Hey, I'm gonna have to break it off tonight." So he shows up to the date not knowing that Anne has already left for her date with Walter. But Marie's there, and she explains what's going on, and she totally snitches her she snitches her little sister out. She snitches her big sister out. Sorry, gummies. She's saying, "So, this man is important to Anne's career. She asked me to tell you how sorry she is, but..." And then Dean says, "Anne didn't say any of that, Marie." That smells good. Are you baking a cake?" So he's finding an excuse to kind of forget about Anne at this point. Seeing Anne, that twat, she can't cook for anything. And we see Marie. She's saying, "Yeah, she's cooking she's baking a cake. She's really good at it." She's saying, "Listen, look at these slumped shoulders. Those are slumped shoulders of me, working the batter and stuff." Marie is still concerned about Dean's feelings, asking, "Hey, do you feel bad about being stood up?" But it turns out Dean had gotten tickets to see this play from another couple, but the play has been getting bad reviews. So the thing is, he didn't buy these tickets. He was gifted these tickets, and he's been hearing that it's not been a good show. So he kind of feels like maybe he dodged a bullet there. So then, Dean sees the cake here, because I read this a little out of order. So they have cake, and they're watching TV. They're Vince Coletta inked, which means total darkness. Marie is saying, "This is terrific. I love this show." And Dean says, "I watch it once in a while. It looks like maybe Mary Tyler Moore." And Dean's saying, "That's enough TV. Hey, how about that cake? Is it cool yet?" And then Marie says, "I'll make fresh coffee, and then we'll have a cut." "Okay." And then someone says, "Oh, I got icing all over myself." "Excuse me a minute, Dean." Yes, so that's Marie. So we see the home here. So again, the artist doesn't have to draw figures. Can turn the page. See a perfume ad. I looked at this before. The thing that stands out is that this was pretty expensive stuff. And particularly when you figure it's $1972. So I'm going to turn the page. So we see the transformation of Marie here. She's not stooping her shoulders. She's no longer wearing the glasses. Her hair's a bit more stylish. Her breasts are a bit more augmented. So she's coming out of her corner because she was a little bit mousy prior to meeting Dean. And they're talking about the cake. The icing was all over. And so I went to wash up, run a comb through my hair, and change. On impulse, I took off my glasses. I didn't need them that much anyhow. So she's like Peter Parker. Dean sees her, says, I don't believe it. You're prettier than Anne. And then Marie says, stop it, Dean. You don't have to put me on to get a second piece of cake. So little like, a little banter here, a little romantic sexual banter here. Dean says, you've read a lot, haven't you? You're very well informed. I might be threatened by that, so be careful how you answer. Marie says, well, I don't go out much, Dean. And as Anne says, I shouldn't expect to with my looks. And then Dean says, I think Anne is a spoiled brat compared to you, Marie. She and I have never had a serious discussion since I've known her. I'd rather be here with you than out with her. So the thing is, they got their cake. She served the cake. She served that slice of cake. And then she's saying, absolutely not. The cake will keep a few days. Come over again and eat the rest of it. Dean says, okay, how about you and I going for a walk tomorrow? When we get back, we'll finish the cake. Oh, yeah. Gonna turn the page. So if you're a girl and you had, say, a more spectacular attention-drawing sister, such as, Marcia and Jan, if you were Jan, you'd like this story. So what's happening is that Dean and Marie, they're continuing to date, but she's not mentioning any of this to Anne. So neither one of them are mentioning to Anne that they're dating. Anne sees Dean as her property, though. Just not an important property. But again, she has Dean in the back pocket. She's thinking, hey, in certain circumstances, I can move him to the front pocket. I need him as my backup. But the thing is, Dean started calling the apartment, but this time he was not asking for Anne. He was asking for Marie. And, Marie just tells Anne, hey, we're just going to go out for a romantic walk here. And they do that. They're walking together. They're talking together. They're getting to know each other. Dean is making it clear that he really wants to see her and not Anne anymore. And Anne is giving up more cake. That's a deal now. Let's go have cake. And the two are getting closer and closer. Marie is giving Dean more cake. He loves those slices. And he's saying, this is great cake, Marie. Not only are you beautiful, but you can cook besides. And Marie's like, thank you, Dean. And then suddenly the two embrace in this deep kiss. And Marie's saying this is the happiest moment of her life. The reason is that Anne is totally pissed off here. So the thing is that Marie stole this guy under Anne's nose. She didn't even realize it. So that's it. I think they'll stay together as long as it annoys Anne. So as long as Anne is annoyed, they're going to be a couple. And this story is One Kiss, and it's Edie and what's this other guy? Elliot. So it's Edie and Elliot. And they're poolside at this hotel resort. So they're in this mountain resort, like Mount Airy in the Catskills. So it's kind of like a little bit of Dirty Dancing here. They're poolside here. These are very beautiful people here. And we see that there's one woman here, redhead, but she does have glasses, so, which means the guys can't really see how sexy she is. She's looking at all these other women who are throwing themselves at Elliot. And Elliot's kind of very high-handed because he's used to this female attention. So he's like, hey, babies, you're a dime a dozen to me. And he says to him, so one of the girls, pretty blonde, says, you promised you'd take me to the casino tonight, Elliot. Elliot answers back, sorry, doll, but I've got this sick aunt. You understand. So he's giving that lame excuse there. Then we see Edie. She's thinking to herself, no wonder he's conceited. Every girl in the hotel is drooling over him. Turn the page. So Edie, it looks like Edie is there with a friend. So Edie went to this resort. She wasn't alone. She came with one of her girlfriends here, who's about the same age, just as pretty. And then we see Elliot. He's trying to get Claire's attention. Edie is the friend. Claire is the female protagonist. So the redhead is Claire. I'm sorry about that. Edie is the friend. Elliot goes to Claire and he says, I'm Elliot Powell. I've been trying to talk to you for 2 days, ever since you arrived. And then Claire says, you have? You seem quite busy to me, Mr. Powell. Again, she's seeing all these women throw themselves at him, but apparently he has only eyes for her. They're Vince Colletted inked, which means they're total shadows. Why should you want to talk to me in particular, Mr. Powell? There are plenty of other girls who seem eager to be with you. And Elliot says, Joe Turner and his wife said to tell you hello. So, looks like Anne and Turner, Joe and Anne, they're kind of friends. It seems like Elliot is related to them. So the thing is that Claire has a couple of friends that it turns out that are related to Elliot here. So good girl Claire, she has a vouch because she can talk to the uncle and aunt and say, can you vouch for this guy because you're friends with this other person I'm interested in. Claire kind of blows off Elliot. She doesn't really buy into Elliot. She views Elliot as a playboy and as kind of a hustler. And she doesn't really want to start dating him because she doesn't fully trust him. So she goes back to her room, Claire, and Claire meets her roommate, Edie. So it's Claire and Edie who are together. Not in that way, although that would be kind of interesting to watch. Edie is saying, she's really impressed by the fact that Claire got to speak to Elliot, saying all the other girls are going after that guy. Claire is saying, I noticed that, but, I kind of don't like that either. I think those women are demeaning themselves. Gonna turn the page. So now both women are in their underwear. So if you kind of have that kink, I don't know if cartoon female characters ever did it for me. I do remember for a brief time, I did have a crush on the Black Canary. She was the type of woman I wanted to be with. The only problem is that she was a cartoon. She was a comic character, so she wasn't even an animated character. We see the ladies, they're putting their nylons on, they're putting their panties on. Edie is saying, why couldn't that dumb head waiter put someone like Powell at our table? And then Claire says, I'm getting used to old Emma and Clyde, Edie. they're over 70, but they're fun. So they're kind of having this little, us hoes can't be picky um, conversation here. I'm wondering. I don't know. Maybe they have a friends with benefits relationship with them. They're over 70, but mind you, they're over 70 in the 1970s, which meant they probably look like skeletons. People age much slower today than they did back then. The friend I was talking about, like I said, she was only 16 years older than me, but she might as well have been 30 years older than me. So anyway, the two are sitting at the table. This is a resort, so the resort kind of takes care of everything. So they're in the dining room area of the resort. They're expecting to have their dinner dates to be the 70-year-olds, but it turns out to be two young men here, who definitely look like they're on the prowl. The girls are surprised by this, but one of the guys says that we swapped tables with the old crows. So the old bats are on a table that was meant for us, but we're going to be sitting here instead. The thing is, apparently they were scoping the two girls out. So the thing is, probably their first night there, they were in the dining room. They were looking around, and they probably noticed the two young things that were sitting next to the two old skeletons. And they're probably thinking to themselves, hold it, if either one of them was with the hot guy would be at that table right there, instead of these two old skeletons. So this is sort of the clue that gave these guys saying, hey, we're going to try to arrange something with them. Because, you'd be fine with either one of these two. Then we see that Elliot, once again, the women are just attracted to him. There's a bunch of women just coming on unsolicitedly. Claire is noticing this. But the thing is that with Elliot's saying, listen, as beautiful as they are, you're more beautiful. So the thing is, Elliot really only has eyes for Claire at this moment. Claire is beautifully drawn. She definitely has that Diane Lane, Dana Delaney look to her. And she is buying everything that Elliot is selling here. Turn the page. So the two are dancing. We see there's another woman there who's also checking out Elliot, but Elliot's only concerned about Claire at this point. We see other well-drawn women, and again, they're sort of orbiting around Elliot, but Elliot's like, I'm looking at you, Claire. Claire kind of has a little bit insecurity, saying, why, Elliot, there are prettier girls here, some with nicer clothes and more sensational figures. Why me? And then Elliot says, you're a very rare woman, Claire. That's right. And then he says, let's find somewhere quiet, and I'll tell you why I'd rather be with you than anyone else. So then at this point, Claire goes with Elliot, but the thing is, she's very suspicious of Elliot. She thinks Elliot's going to be a jerk off at this point, and that he's going to be 100% heel. And Claire's saying, well, okay, tell me, what do you have to tell me? And Elliot's saying, you're very lovely, Claire, kind, charming, unselfish, and you don't even realize how wonderful you are. That's right. This is the beautiful woman who hasn't quite realized that she's a swan. She's a beautiful woman. She just doesn't see it yet. But Elliot sees it. And Elliot says, you're the kind of girl I've always wanted to know, Claire. And now that I found you, I'll never let you go. Turn the page. Take a look at an ad, Jerry of Hollywood. This is the photographs, posters. Once again, we can see lots of Elvis here. So Elvis still had a lot of juice with the readers of these romance, or at least that's what Jerry thinks. See Barbara Streisand, Bruce Lee, Michael London, yeah, Anne Margaret, Robert Redford. I'm sure they have overstock on some of these too. Turn the page. So then we see that Elliot and Claire, they're getting closer and closer. They're very well drawn. They're embracing. Claire really likes Elliot here. Elliot really likes Claire. And they're just kissing a lot, and they're just claiming they're falling in love. There's a lot of padding in this story here. I'll turn the page. It ends on the next page. So again, they're still at the retreat. A couple days later, they're just falling more and more in love. They're taking canoe trips. They take a canoe to a restaurant. Elliot is saying he has something important to say to her. But the thing is that Claire wants to hear what Elliot has to say. Saying, "Listen, I can't eat knowing this. You have some big news. Tell me now." And Elliot's saying, "Listen, I want to get married. I want to have children. I want that woman to be you, to have these things with." Claire says, "Already know all about you, darling. I phoned home last night and told them, and said I hoped you'd propose to me before the vacation is over." So she was hoping that this moment would happen, and I think he informally said, "Do you want to get married?" She accepts the offer, and they embrace, and that's the end of it. Yeah, I guess they'll make it. The communication could be better. Let's turn the page. Okay, and this is our last story. It's also the best drawn story. This is an artist whose work I've seen before. This is an artist who's inserting some of their own life into it, because there's a trip to Valenzuela, and in the previous time I'd seen this artist's work, because it's really good. The story was also on Valenzuela, so I got the idea that this person must have, at some point in their young lives, they worked at a job that had sent them to Valenzuela, and he really enjoyed it there. So anyway, we have this couple here. It looks like they're in Central Park. This young, beautiful couple, definitely, they look like they're out of a magazine, and they are so beautifully drawn. Apparently, what had happened, they had done those horse carriage driven walks, runs around part of Central Park. The horse carriage thing is very controversial, because it's clearly you don't want to see animals used that way. But the guys who do it saying, "Listen, this is a very well paying job and kind of need it." And these horses, they're either alive doing this, or they're in the glue factory. But anyway, mind you, this is also 1976, so Central Park was kind of a dangerous place back then. So this very beautiful couple, one of them looks like Warren Beatty, the other looks like Goldie Hawn, and they're just enjoying themselves, and they're enjoying being with themselves. But then suddenly a mugger comes out, a very well-dressed mugger with an ascot, and he says, "The bread, fella, or I ruin the broad's pretty face." And then the fella says, "Get in the cab, Lisa. I've got to give this man what he wants." And then he's like, he wants some bread. I'm going to give him the whole loaf.
I take the bread. The whole loaf, you understand?
So anyway, the two have a fight here. The mugger here has a knife. Skip is his name. He's unarmed. He does the James Bond thing, and he disarms the weapon from the hand. Beautifully drawn artwork here, though, I have to say, just beautifully drawn artwork. Turn the page. the cab driver of the horse and carriage, he sees this. He says, "You busted his arm, mister." And then Skip says, "I hope so. He'll have to knife his next victim left-handed." Because I took care of that right hand. There was no use calling the cops at that point. They were pretty useless. Then we see Lisa. She's looking at Skip, thinking, "You took a chance. You could have been killed." And Skip is like, "No sweat, Lisa. I hope he didn't have to ruin the evening for you." So he's concerned about her having a ruined evening here. So he's getting those tough guy credentials. We get a close-up drawing of the two. They're just beautiful people, beautifully drawn. Turn the page. Apparently, the two haven't dated much. They've been on like 5 dates. But the thing is, these are 5 high-profile dates. The first 3 dates happened in London, and the following 2 dates happened in New York. So, this is kind of a jet-setter life with this couple. So then Skip takes, Lisa back to her apartment, and Lisa's saying, "Listen, I told my roommates to be scarce tomorrow, so you can come back here tomorrow and we'll have a nice little meal." So that's going to be the follow-up date. Skip confides into Lisa, "I didn't want to do..." Wait, let me read it. "I didn't want to tell you earlier, but you'd better tell the girls. They can stay home and knit if they like. I'm flying to Valenzuela on the noon plane." Sorry for that bad reading. But so it looks like Nick has a job that takes him out of places very quickly. So he's going to be in Valenzuela tomorrow. So as this romance is blossoming, he's given this news that he's basically going to be shipped out of the country tomorrow. Lisa, she's surprised by this, saying, "Hey Skip, you were telling me other things." Skip says, "I know. I told you I'd be here in New York for 6 weeks, but an engineer got himself killed, dumbass, down there, and I've got to take his place." So Skip is an engineer. It turns out that the company he's working for, there was an unexpected death of a vital essential worker in Valenzuela, so he's going down. He might be involved with the oil and gas field. Valenzuela actually has the world's largest oil supplies, but the thing is, it's kind of like a crude heavy mix, so it's not a type that's easy to deal with. Skip is saying, "I warned you, Lisa. I'm an oil man. I never stay in one place long. There are no tomorrows for a man like me." And Lisa's saying, "He did warn me." So it looks like Skip is involved with the oil industry. And he needs to go down to Valenzuela to maintain their oil structure, which they haven't been doing in real life for the last 20 years. Going to turn the page. Lisa is very upset because the life that she had envisioned for herself with Skip did not include this stuff. So then Lisa's kind of pleading with him, saying, don't go. But it's no good. Skip is thinking about his career, and he's decided to go. Lisa is kind of being a little angry. She's striking out. Skip saying, "Have fun, Skip. Right, if you ever find time." And Skip is picking up on these social cues, saying, "I wish you had kicked and screamed or get nasty, honey. It would be easier for me to walk away." So the thing is, the fact Lisa is very upset. Skip knows that Lisa's kind of striking out a little, but at the same time, Lisa isn't willing to break off this relationship. Skip realizes this, but he realizes the challenges too that with his career, sending him to Valenzuela. Then we see Lisa. She's very upset. She feels that the guy's gonna forget about her. Lisa's friend tries to console her, but it doesn't look like it's working. It did look like they were keeping in contact, so it wasn't like Skip was forgetting about Lisa, and Lisa was following through on contacting Skip. But the thing is that the communications, because this is before cell phones and email and such, had been light and sporadic. So the thing is that it's kind of casting some doubt into Lisa's head about whether the two are still together. And what happened is that Lisa had some vacation time, and she decided to use her vacation time to visit Skip in Valenzuela. So they're mentioning a specific lake here, and we see drawings of the landscape of Valenzuela. This artist went there. This artist had traveled to Valenzuela, and they had loved it. So the thing is that the plane lands at the airport. Skip is waiting for her, so this is not a surprise move. Anne had given Skip, heads up that she was coming down there. The two are embracing here in the street. They're kissing each other on the lip. Lisa says that I feel that he still loves me. So they have to kind of resolve this issue. We see some beautifully drawn people in the background, though. So this guy can draw, I have to say. Skip, he came there in a Jeep because he's an oil guy. So he came in a Jeep. Skip has promised Lisa that they'll have a great time. They go to a restaurant. It's a local restaurant. Skip is explaining, I eat locally. So I stay away from the tourist traps, and I go to the places that the Venezuelans like to eat. And Lisa enjoys the food. They're enjoying the music. They're enjoying the ambiance. You can turn the page. So I'm going to go back to the story. The two, they go outside. They have a little alone time to themselves. They're passionately kissing here. Lisa doesn't want this moment to end. She's not quite sure what to do. Because the issue of them like living in two different countries and their jobs and careers, it is important to them. So the two are kind of like ending the night. Lisa says to Skip, "Darling, I may have things to do tomorrow. Call the hotel and check. I'll let you know, okay?" And then Skip is like, "Huh? But I've got a week, and you said..." Oh, I think Skip came to her. And nevertheless, she says, "Good night, darling." And then we see beautifully drawn Lisa. She's talking to someone. I think it's like the bellboy. And Lisa's calling out, "A doctor. I'm ill, my stomach." And I think the bellboy says, "The hotel doctor will come to your room at once, Miss Leanna." And then we see we see Lisa. She's lying down. We see the doctor saying, you should feel better, and that this looks like a case of food poisoning, and that he hopes it doesn't develop into anything bad. She thanks the doctor. Gonna turn the page, and once again, everyone is just so beautifully drawn. Apparently George W. Bush is the bellboy. He's the night bellboy. So the bellboy that we saw earlier was the day bellboy. So George W. Bush is below that guy, and he deserves that. He was a shit president who did a lot of damage to this country. So he's in the hell he deserves, being a bellboy. Which if it weren't for his father's connections, he wouldn't even have that job. We see Lisa. She's looking downcast. Very beautiful, though. And she says, "If anyone asks for me, just say I decided to leave. Please don't say I've been ill." So, like, yeah, Lisa wants to get out of the country here. She's just feeling terrible about it. Apparently, the flight home was a nightmare. She had passed out in the plane, but she needed to be kind of like, carried out by emergency personnel. We see the nurse here. Kind of looks like what's her name, Valerie Harper from Rona, and she's saying, "Resign yourself to a sick room, honey. It takes a long time to recover from hepatitis." And Lisa says, "I know, I've heard." So Lisa's been ill, but it's been more than just food poisoning. She contracted hepatitis, which can be very bad. I think that leads to your blood being septic, or it can be. Lisa's parents showed up in New York. They're from Akron, Ohio. So apparently, I guess they're really kind of really rich in the Midwest. Lisa's kind of like a little princess, and she's out in New York. But it looks like mommy and daddy want to take her home back to Ohio. She's happy that Skip can't see her at this point because she feels really miserable. It looks like she's trying to recover at mommy and daddy's place. The maid is saying, "You've had mail forwarded from your New York apartment, Lisa. 7 letters from Valenzuela. The last 2 from Mr. Rollins came from Point Barrow, Alaska." And Lisa hears this. She says, "Poor Skip. They moved him around like a chess piece." So Lisa realizes that Skip's moving around, but it's due to the company. Turn the page. So then, what's happened? I think Skip is now in Alaska, because now she's getting mail from Alaska, and apparently she's been getting, now she's gotten a letter from a tourist agency. So a tourist travel agency, I should say, has contacted her. I think it's from Skip. Skip is going to buy her a ticket so she can travel out to meet him. She's hoping it's Honolulu, but it might be Fairbanks. It might be Fairbanks, Alaska, though, because that's the last place Skip had been in. So the thing is, they kind of leave for the airport. Lisa is making plans that it's going to be in Honolulu, so she flies in from New York to San Francisco, and then I guess from San Francisco she'll fly directly to Honolulu. I think the distance from New York to LA is the same amount of distance it is from LA to Honolulu. So you're gonna have to travel 3,000 miles to go from the California coast to Hawaii. And I know people who have done that trip. And we see Skip here. Skip is waiting for he's waiting for Lisa at San Francisco Airport, which is it's kind of an okay airport. I didn't dislike it. Lisa's happy to see Nick. Nick doesn't look very happy. Nick says he's a little ticked off at Lisa, saying, "I didn't intend to ever speak to you again after the way you left Maracaibo, but..." Turn the page. Skip demands a kiss here, saying, "Hey, listen, babe, I might have some bad news for you, but I want to get one last smooch in." Lisa's treating this like an ultimatum, saying, you tell me what you need to tell me, or I'm just gonna go home. So the thing is, Lisa doesn't really have much patience for Skip. Skip is angry and resentful. So Lisa says, "And if you don't stop this nonsense and ask me to marry you, what do you say to that?" And Skip says, "Just this. You should have shut up for 10 seconds and let me be the one to propose. Oh, well, do you like this ring? Do you? Lisa starts crying, saying, Mommy and Daddy are going to be really happy. Skip is saying, yeah, same with me. They're by the phone. They're waiting for me to say I'm going to get married to you. And then the two embrace. And they embrace in the backdrop of, it says Hawaii, but it looks like they went back to Valenzuela. And that's the story. Yeah, I guess they kind of, they seem to like tolerate each other. I turn the page. One page vignette. I guess they just kind of ran out of room. Very attractive woman here, and there's this kind of creepy guy. He grabs her, says, "You look like somebody I ought to know," and she says, "You may be right." And the two have dinner, and then the two embrace and they fall in love. So a cheap, crappy pickup line could get you the love of your life. Okay, turn the page. Okay, so I'm going to take a look at Buck's Bag. This is Buck's Bag. I think there's like 3 letters. The first letter is from a 16-year-old, and she's dating a guy called Tony, and Tony's Mexican. And the problem is that her mom does not like Tony, saying that he's a Mexican and people will talk about us and it will reflect badly on me. So the mom is telling the daughter, don't date this Mexican guy that you like so much because it reflects badly on me. So the mom is not only being a bigoted, she's also being narcissistic. Buck says it's really a shame that we have people like this. Your mom sucks. And she's just saying, listen, try to get your mom to think better. Oh, excuse me. The next letter is from a couple, from a girl who's 19 and her boyfriend is 19. And the thing is that there's talk of marriage, but the thing is that he's too scared to do it. So he's kind of saying, I would like to marry you, but your dad doesn't like me. And since your dad doesn't like me, we're not going to be a good couple. It turns out the guy's kind of a heel. He doesn't really buy her anything. He kind of ignores her. And he talks to other women right in front of him. But she says she's in love with him. And Buck saying, no, this guy doesn't love you. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. Saying basically this guy's a jerk. He doesn't really value you. The next one is from a 21-year-old girl, and she's in love with a certain actor on television. So she has a TV crush, and she wants to know what to do with it. Dr. Buck is saying don't follow up on it, don't get infatuated, don't see more in this than there really is. Okay, yeah, fine. We'll take a look at some of these ads. Nothing so big. Yeah, nothing really. There's a survey. So I'm going to take a survey for a few minutes. And these are the questions that are asked. And you get to win a prize by March 31st, 1976. So this is a world where Star Wars did not exist. Okay, so they're asking, do you watch TV? Yes. When do you watch TV? Afternoon, yes. Evening, yes. Saturday morning, yes. Sunday morning, yes. Monday morning, yes. Tuesday morning, yes. I watch TV all the time. Which shows have you watched in the past month? Hong Kong Phooey. I watch that regularly. Speed Buggy, kind of on and off. Pebbles and Bam Bam. I did watch that regularly, though it was terrible. Scooby-Doo, I watch that regularly. Valley of the Dinosaurs, never watched. Yogi Bear, never watched. Flintstones, occasionally watched. And Space 1999, I occasionally watch. What is your favorite TV show? My guess at this time was probably Star Trek or Gilligan Island reruns. As far as newer shows, probably Wonder Woman. Fifth question: what was the exact name of the comic you found this questionnaire in? Teenage Love. Where did you get this comic? Supermarket. I never got a comic book from a supermarket. Newsstand. Got it from there. Variety chain store, rarely. Gift shop, rarely. Drugstore, never. From a friend, yeah. I didn't have very many friends, but the few friends I did have, I get comics from them. My mom would buy comics for me. I'd try to buy a comic book every day. I was so addicted. It did take me about an hour to read it, maybe a half hour. How many other, besides yourself? Oh, okay. So, do I have any parents or brothers or friends who read comics? I had some friends. My brothers were on and off comic book readers. My mom was horrified by comic books. She thought they were so stupid. Okay, we're asked which activities did you engage in? There's a lot of team sports. Depending on how the kids felt about me, that determined whether I participated or not. Let's see. Do you send for items in advertise? Oh, do you send for items advertised in TV? No, I never did that. Which of the following items have you bought within the past month? For those you bought, please state your favorite brand. Okay, I drank all types of soda. Probably Coke is my favorite. Root beer, I probably drank root beer on and off. Carbonated beverage. No, I wouldn't. Those really weren't very popular back then. I think maybe you had Yoo-Hoo. Candy bar, definitely. Probably Three Musketeers or Milky Way. Regular chewing gum, bubble yum, I guess. Wrigley's. Non-sugar chewing gum. I think they all had sugar. They're talking about snack foods, potato chips. That would be wise. Ice cream. I think I preferred ice cream from Baskin Robbins or what's that? Carvel. Cookies, probably chocolate chip cookies. Peanuts, any brand really. Pretzels, any brand. Crackers, any brand. Peanut butter, yeah, pretty Skippies probably. And packaged capes, probably something like, Easy. They're asking approximately how much did you spend during the week? Way too much money. Do you eat cold cereal? Yeah, I would eat cold cereal. And my favorite cold cereal was Fruity Pebbles. Do I wear sneakers? Yes. Do I wear jeans? Yes. How many cars does your family have? We had none. We never had a car. The only one who had a car was my younger brother. One of my younger brothers. I'm a boy. How old are you? I'm kind of like 58. Do you have any brothers or sisters? Yeah, 2 brothers, half sister. Do you live in a house or an apartment? We live in an apartment. What is your father's occupation? Passed away. What is your father's occupation? Yeah, he did a bunch of stuff, and not all of it was legal. Does your mother work? At this time she did, but eventually she lost the job. How much money spending do you have each week? Like how much in allowance each week? Maybe $5 if I was lucky. And how much did you spend for comics last week? Probably way too much money. Turn the page. So ad for diets. Don't need to see that. Here's an ad for watches and celebrities. I've seen this before. And that's it. And that is my review of My Only Love, issue number 6. And I hope to have more reviews up soon. Bye.